Hello, Targar friends. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Orc Mode workout. And today was Dynamic Effort Bench Day. I got these chains adjusted a little bit. I found the exact link count for my benching that lets me load and unload the chains fully at the top and bottom. So we're within a pound or so on our estimate. So what do we got here for chains? I am running 84 pounds of chains with 165 pounds of bar weight for the 5x5 speed work. So that's right where we need to be in terms of our overall percentages. And the one thing I noticed in this today, yeah, definitely the recomposition is slowly happening. It's starting to show now. I mean, obviously, I'm still carrying a decent amount of body fat, still have my loose skin. I'm pale, I'm hairy, but yeah, the recomp is showing. We can't even hide it at this point, especially with what I train in. But it's coming along. And the method I'm going with a lot of the accessory work, people are noticing I'm pushing really hard just to get stronger at all my accessory and assistance movements, because tension is the name of the game. You know, for a little while I was messing with some of my accessory work of just doing the really high reps and a little bit of pump work, but I've come to realize more and more based on my life experience looking at the current literature and the debates in the literature, really tension, particularly if we want strength carryover, is the name of the game. Right, so that means I just need to train really, really hard at my assistance movements and accessory work. I need to get strong at them. We need to be pushing progression on those. We need to get strong at those movements while still doing a large amount of volume. You know, that's the one thing that even as a strength athlete, we will approach like a bodybuilder, is that when you have those weak points, you need to build them up, right? You need to build them up. It doesn't matter whether it's a bicep, a tricep, a delt, upper back, whatever, we build it. And so at this point, my bench days are geared completely around that, right? And ironically, I'm doing a little bit of the bench accessory even on the squat and deadlift day, but now everything's a little more balanced, everything's coming along, but a little bit more of my total training volume in terms of accessory movements is geared towards the bench press. But the thing is, that'll help my deadlift, right? That'll help my deadlift. And the sumo deadlifts and the box squats will carry over back and forth. So there's a synergy between everything. But the speed work went good today. Oh, one of the things you guys will notice, I forgot to mention up front, I changed the width on my grip an inch on every single set. So kind of like what Louis says to start narrow and bring it out over time, I basically, because we're doing 5 sets now for the speed work, I start with a normal closed grip. So I had my pinkies on my thumbs on the smooths, and I brought my hands out 1 inch on each of the 5 sets. And then my pinkies were on the rings on the final set. So I think that's a good way to go so that we get wider as we go. Incline went good. 245 we tried last time, and I felt like I couldn't get a 5th rep on the final set, which is where we want to be. Today I blasted through them. Everything was a good, strong pause. And I feel comfortable that I'm getting stronger at this exercise because I need to. I've got to bring those areas up. I need more upper chest. I need more tricep. I need all this stuff to grow. And the incline bench is, again, a very, very good assistance movement for one of my weak points on the bench. People say one of, yeah, I actually have a couple weak points on the bench, right? I have a couple weak points on the bench. It's one reason my bench is disproportionate to my overall muscle mass and body weight and even relative strength. So we're going to keep working on that, but we're going to just hammer the correct exercises. We obviously push as hard as we can on max effort day, right? We're pushing to a true max. We're doing the speed work as prescribed, and then we've got to pick the best assistance movements. And then we pick exercises that help us get stronger at the assistance movements. Now, some people will say, well, what happens when you stall at these assistance movements? You change an accessory to improve it, or you change it and then rotate it out. For example, I got all 5 sets of this today. I'm going to try to microload. Next week, I'm going to put a microplate on. I'm going to go up 2.5 pounds because I think I can do it. But we're feeding the incline bench with the skull crushers because triceps have been historically my weak link on pressing. So if I can get my triceps bigger and stronger, all my pressing is going to go up. I feel like my incline is going up, 1, because I'm actually training it now. That matters. And 2, because I am hitting my weak link with some hypertrophy work, some direct exercises to get more myofibrillar growth to get stronger. So by hitting the triceps, it's probably going to keep feeding into my incline. If the incline stalls, we might need to adjust it. I could go to a weighted dip. I could go to a floor press. Floor press would probably be better. Or I could put some chains on there. If I put chains on here, we progress on the chains. Basically, on any assistance exercise like this, you push it until you stall. And then when you can't progress on it anymore, and your accessory work's not making it progress, you change to a variation or a different exercise and progress on that till it stalls and come back around to the one you know you need to get good at. But in this case, because I really know the incline is going to be my bread and butter for a while, I'll just run chains on it and then run the chains till it stalls and then come back to it. Did rows today. One of the things I'm doing different on these chest supported rows, which I'm now doing 4 days a week, versus when I was doing them standing, is that I bring these all the way up to the upper chest now. Right? People would say, why? Because that will work more of my upper back. All right, for a raw bencher, upper back development is the key. I've got plenty of lat, and this will still build lats, but I need to make sure that whole upper back, which includes the traps, the rear delts, all of that, I need to make sure that stuff is maximally growing, because that's what I need for support on my bench press. This addresses that. And I'm doing 20 heavy sets a week. Now, some people almost said, we feel like you're going too heavy. Not really, because if I can do the full range of motion on the exercise, and you can't cheat on this, if I can do the full range of motion from a dead stop, it's not too heavy. It's just really hard. I'm having to pull hard. These are limit sets. Like, I don't think I could do more than 5 reps. I mean, I'm pretty much at my limits, and that's fine. 20 limit sets of these every week spread out. We're going to grow from it. We're going to get stronger. We're going to get some good solid muscle fiber growth in all those muscles that I need. It's going to improve my bench. It's going to improve my deadlift. That's what we have to have. And we need that whole upper back to get bigger anyways. That carries over to all my big 3 anyways. In addition to making you look more jacked from behind, it carries over. It'll make you stronger. And people have got to remember that, guys. There's a reason we talk about the size equals strength, right, thing, right? There's a reason for it. So yeah, those areas have got to get thicker, and they are. I mean, if people are noticing, yeah, that my shoulders and stuff are starting to look a little leaner, they're still not going to have that capped look because I'm not blasting these days. So, you know, I'll probably never get the capped look unless I use stuff again. But they're getting leaner, Skull crushers, we stuck with the same weight because we got this last time and it felt really heavy. Really heavy. But we PR'd on bench, so it doesn't matter. We got the full rep PR, so the triceps are coming into this fatigued. If I feel up to it, depending on how the incline goes next week, I might try to micro load these, or I might keep them at this weight. Because this is challenging after about the 3rd set. The first set was really easy. So I might actually be working with a 12 plus rep max, which means there's room to add weight to the bar. You know, we need to get stronger at these. Getting strong at these is going to thicken my triceps. That's going to carry over to all my pressing. And that's why we're doing 10 sets of these every week. 5 sets on both bench days, because my triceps are a weak link in all my pressing, and I've got to thicken them up. And this will do it, and it'll do it in a way that allows me to use a stretch reflex to lift a fast weight. It's explosive. That gives some carryover. That's what we want. But it's working. I don't know. I feel like my triceps might be growing a little. You guys will have to tell me. I can't honestly tell. I can't assess those things easily myself. They might be growing. But objectively speaking, if this lift keeps going up, we know they're growing. So hopefully that's the case. And what happens when we stall on this? People are like, don't you want to keep doing these? I do. And there's other extensions I could do, but I feel like, again, this is going to be a bread and butter. If these stall and I can't get stronger, I'll add chains. Because it creates a slightly different strength curve on the same exercise, then we run it with chains until it stalls. But as long as my triceps keep getting stronger, I think my incline will go up. And if my incline goes up, my benching will go up. And, in addition to the training I'm already doing for the bench. We've got to keep everything moving forward, though, guys. It is about pushing every exercise. Any exercise that is worth me doing needs to be trained hard. Right? We are trying to train optimally now. That means pretty high volume, Because anyone who wants to argue that I'm not doing high volume needs to look at my assistance and accessory movements. A lot of intermediate type bodybuilding programs, just my assistance and accessory movements alone without my squat, bench, or deadlift would actually fall into the volumes they prescribe. Then you got to remember I'm squat, benching, and deadlifting twice a week each. So my volume is no longer low, but everything is a limit set. We want to pretty much have 1 rep in reserve most of the way through, and maybe have 1 rep in reserve or even hit failure on the last set of any of these assistance or accessory movements. And this is an accessory movement. But I've got to train hard on everything. It's just that we don't do a lot of exercise variation. You put all your efforts into the one exercise that you need, and when it stalls, you change it. So that's one of the big differences between, say, a bodybuilder and someone who's a strength athlete. You pick the exercises that target what you need to grow the best way possible, and you beat that exercise with as much training volume as you can handle with limit sets. You need to be thinking in terms of getting stronger at it. I need to get stronger at the skull crushers. I need to get stronger at these laterals. But these are tough, because this is about the heaviest weight I've handled, and I'm failing on the last rep each time. But that's fine, because my delts are getting worked so hard. Because now I'm actually rowing before doing these also. So this is just more overall delt work being thrown at my shoulders before I do these. All right, and people need to understand too, if you look at my hand position, that's something that got brought up. People are like, what's going on with what you're doing? My thumbs are up because this is how you avoid internal rotation of the shoulders. The way bodybuilders do these actually damages your shoulder joint over time. This doesn't. This doesn't. But my 5x10, I think I might have only got 9 on the last set because I pretty much hit failure. Or if not, I failed the 10th rep. And I think that's what happened. When I got to rep 10, I couldn't quite get to the top. I reached muscle failure. I was done, which means this is about all the weight I can handle. This is the one exercise out of everything I'm doing that I'm not that worried about if I don't progress on, because I don't really have much in the way of an alternative for it. I can mess around a little bit with chain stuff to get some variation, but as long as I'm just putting that tension on it, my delts are getting good work. So this is probably the only accessory movement that I'm not going to be super serious about progressing hard on, as long as I'm getting quality work in. Because the others involve primary movers, and side delts are not really a primary mover, they're a stabilizer. And this is being done with so much other volume thrown at the same basic muscle groups. These are here for some quality volume, just to get that side delt and upper trap and stuff a little more. I'm not going to freak out over not progressing on these. Literally everything else in my program has to progress though. That includes curls, that includes skull crushers, particularly because those are primary movers on some of my bigger assistance movements. I need those muscles to get directly stronger. So the tension's going to matter. And that's going to be the thing. I'm not going to vary rep ranges. I don't need to vary rep ranges. We push the weight with a slow linear progression on these smaller movements, or even bigger movements in some cases, like the incline, as far as they'll go. And then when they stall, we do a variation and push that till it stalls. Then we did hammer curls, and I bumped the weight 5 pounds on each side today. That's another 5 pounds of chains. That is now actually 7 pounds of chains. Wow. I didn't even realize that till after I started filming. I now have 36 pounds of chains on each side. We started with 29 and managed to get sets of 10 last time. I pretty much got everything. I think I might have only got 9 reps on the final one, but I managed to get 10s with these, and really focusing on the full range of motion, coming all the way down at the bottom. That's why I lean forward a little bit, so they have a little bit of tension still at the bottom, so we can do for the full range of motion. And then we have that little bit of shoulder movement up there, that little bit of rotation to activate a little more bicep. But this, again, is adding that final bit of thickness I need, right? Because it's going to work biceps. Pretty much works the whole bicep, but maybe not quite as efficiently in some ways as a supinated grip, but it still works it, and especially when we have that shoulder movement, we're hitting that other function of that head. It's going to work the hell out of your brachialis, radial brachialis, your whole forearm. A little bit of extra grip training. It just thickens up the whole arm. So this is going to help at the bottom of the bench press, which I've discussed in the past why it does that. And because this is going to work all the muscles involved with my rows, and sometimes my biceps might be the weak link in my rows, this will help me get stronger at my rows. And if my rows get stronger, that's support musculature I need for everything else that I do. So this is just kind of the finishing touch as far as my accessory movements go. And it's probably just going to make me look more jacked in general, right? Having bigger biceps and forearms is never a bad thing if you're going to be on YouTube, even if you're not an aesthetics guy. And all things considered, I don't know, guys, I think I'm looking decently big now. I'm not the biggest guy out there, but for a 42-year-old lifter who's not on gear, not on TRT these days, I don't know. I think I'm looking reasonably big. But there's going to be more room to grow and to lean out, so I'm going to keep going. So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.